The Lollipop Dragon sounds like something that was created in a corporate boardroom by out-of-touch executives asking, what are the youth of today like? And then smashing dragons and candy together. It's an adaptation from, apparently, a series of books made in the 60s and 70s by Roger Himmel. He set up Lollipop Productions, and apparently started making educational film strips and books, and this culminated in the release of The Lollipop Dragon and the Great Christmas Race in 1985, and another film in, I think, 86, The Lollipop Dragon and the Lollipop Adventure, or something like that. We had The Christmas Race on a VHS tape. We'd recorded it off at the TV, I suppose. I was either way too young to remember when we recorded it, or it happened before I was even born. And since then I had watched it more than I would care to admit. It was on a tape with 2 other movies, but honestly this is the only one that really stuck with me. The only information I can find about the company, and Himmel himself, is his scant profile on IMDb, the Goodreads review listing of 15 books that he wrote, and a newspaper article from 1970, where they interviewed Himmel. He was still in school at the time. I think it said he was a senior. He said he hoped that the Lollipop Dragon would one day become more popular than Mickey Mouse. How's that working out for you? The film features a big green dragon named Lollipop, who resides in a magical kingdom called Tum Tum, which apparently produces the world's most delicious lollipops. I don't know if it's a coincidence, but the dragon, Lollipop, works in a lollipop factory, along with a bunch of presumably normal-sized people, and 3 smaller dragon children, meaning that Tum Tum has very lax child labor laws. The dragon children all have magic powers. There's Blue Eyes, she can levitate things with her eye beams. There's Glider, he can fly and has the least creative name. And then there's Cuddles, he is mute and has incredible reality-bending psychic powers. So towards the opening of this thing, the king and the queen of the kingdom come out to make an announcement. There's a crier who announces all of them coming out. The king, the queen, the prince, the princess, and the royal musician Harry the Troll. They come out to make their announcement, and wait a minute, wasn't this scene set in the factory? Why do the king and queen have thrones in the Lollipop factory? Either way, the king and queen have basically just shown up to give out gifts to the factory workers in what I suppose is the only industry that actually makes Tum Tum at all important. We then cut to the antagonist of the film, Baron Badblood. Now I love this guy. Every time he shows up on the screen, this guitar riff plays, they hit his voice with a ton of reverb, and he's got this magic mirror that lets him do magic.
Oh, I hate all this Christmas spirit. It makes my bad blood boil. Disgusting, ain't it, boss?
Like he says a rhyme to the mirror and a spell happens. Also, he's green? Maybe he should have joined the Gorillas instead of Ace. So he's spying on the town, and he figures, hey, maybe we should go over there, check things out in person. So him and his sidekick, Cosmo, turn into spiders and teleport to the town through the mirror, which is a thing I guess they can do. They're there on site when a royal proclamation from the king and queen is announced by the town crier again.
Hear ye!
They announced the Great Christmas Race.
A great Christmas race will be run.
The prize for coming in first is lollipops in a flavor of your choice, with your face on them.
Lollipops manufactured in their likenesses and in the flavor of their choice.
Being distributed to the children of the world by Santa. Now, I'm no expert on demographics or statistics, but even in the 80s, there were a lot of kids in the world. And I've seen how slowly these guys make their lollipops. They are not going to be able to fill that order. There's a crowd there to listen. This guy with the mustache is clearly a major player. I mean, why else would they hang on him like that? Also, what the fuck is this thing? The important characters talk about how they're going to enter the race, and only the important characters, in a musical number.
We gotta get ready, read the horses hooray.
The dragon children have pandas? I guess the rules on exotic pets in Tum Tum are pretty lax. That or, you know, they're dragons, so they get to do what the fuck they want. Originally, I thought this song was supposed to be, like, spontaneous, because that's usually how musical numbers work. But here's Lollipop conducting the singers. making this song 100% completely diegetic. Like, in Grease, I don't think we're supposed to think the characters are actually singing, but rather that it's the plot being conveyed through song. But no, this is straight up them actually singing. Oh, the mustache guy got in on the action too. Though it's the day of the race, and who's this guy? The king and queen already employ a town crier. Did they need to outsource this job to somebody else? The Baron rolls up, everybody hates it, he's got every intention to cheat, and when he wins, he's going to have the factory make liver-flavored lollipops.
I'm gonna win this foolish little competition, and the Christmas lollipop will have my face on it! Did I tell you what my favorite flavor is? Liver! Oh, no.
See, this is exactly why I love this guy as a villain. He's got nothing to gain here. He just wants to be an asshole and ruin everyone's good time. That's a proper villain. It's like the Monarch in Venture Brothers. He's just being a dick for the sake of ruining a good time. Oh hey, Mustache Man is in the race. I guess he must be important, right? He's actually got a pretty good shot if he can catch up to... Oh, there he goes. Goodbye, Cobbler, we hardly knew ye.
First Blood.
Lollipop and Harry barely manage to avoid eating shit on the Cobbler's wrecked sled, but the Prince and Princess aren't so lucky. They're launched roughly into orbit. Prince Hubert utters his catchphrase, which is his name. I guess he's like a Pokemon or something, and the horses run in to catch them. That way they get a nice landing on a soft horse's back, rather than the hard, unforgiving snow. And hey, the dragon children are cheating too. Glider flies into the air in order to find a shortcut. That can't be legal. He's an idiot. They wind up in the Forest of Mirrors, which is kind of a legitimately terrifying place to be. There's a spirit that lives there, and whispers to you the whole time, and sends illusions out to fuck with you. Or maybe the illusions just sort of live there. I don't know exactly. They only got 2 things out of this. There's only 2 movies, and while the Forest of Mirrors does feature prominently in both of them, you don't really get a whole lot of backstory.
Beware, beware the forest of mirrors, where your secret thoughts, your secret fears, will seem as real as smiles and tears.
The spirit of the forest reminds Cuddles that he's got mind powers, and asks him to think about Christmas. He uses his psychic powers to obliterate the phantoms. He then thinks of a way out, and they're off, and back in the race. And apparently this was actually a really good shortcut, because it put them in front of the Baron. However, you don't want to be in front of the Baron. Lollipop and Harry pick up the Dragon Kids, and realize their sled is way overloaded. Maybe there was a strategic flaw in bringing the single largest creature in town to your horse-drawn sleigh race. Just a thought. The Baron lays a trap to catch the rest of the racers. But Blue Eyes' spider sense goes off and warns them about the trap. Hey, wait a minute. Why didn't the Baron just keep going? He was in front. He had a fresh team of whatever these things are, and they were ready to pull his sled to victory. Stopping here just doesn't pay off, especially when you consider you were planning on dropping a giant snowball on a guy who can literally breathe fire. Which he does, of course. The finish line is in sight, and the Baron's new sled team is pulling him quickly towards victory. In order to counter this, the Prince and the Princess pull up with all of the remaining mounts from all of the wrecked sleds, which means, yes, those dragon triplets literally left their pandas in the wilderness. By the Forest of Mirrors, no doubt, just to fend for themselves. That is not responsible pet ownership. They hook up the remaining horses and pandas and whatever the fuck these things are to Lollipop's sled, and they speed past the Baron, apparently getting a tremendous boost in speed. The Baron gets upset, and his sled transforms into some sort of jet-powered skidoo, and they just peel out. They overtake Lollipop, and they approach the finish line, and then they stop because they're getting pelted by snowballs. Cheating in front of the crowd seems to have enraged them, and the snowball fight then enrages Cosmo, who yanks a lever to throw back. Why do they even have that lever? How is that supposed to help them cheat? Oh, there's that fucked up nose thing again. Isn't that Zorg's desk buddy from The Fifth Element? And then the king congratulates all of the protagonists. Literally all of them. They all win the race, and the Lollipop is this big ornate thing with 7 faces on it. Congratulations on winning. Now get in the factory and make about 1 billion of these. Big musical number as the dragon's voice changes completely for the song.
A wish for
overloaded, Harry. This is as fast as these tired horses can go.
Apparently he's voiced by a fella named Gary Wilmot, who also voices Harry. So that's why the dragon's singing voice just sounds like that little purple guy. And hey, the cobbler survived, so I guess that's something. Also, Tum Tum has an astronaut, apparently. Seriously, what's with all these random background characters? Like, there's actual details on these people. Were there like plans to have some sort of extended universe for the Lollipop Dragon? Were we going to get a story about the astronaut? Or this, like, star lady? What the fuck are these things on the piano? Seriously, what's going on in this town? So all the good guys, with more than 5 lines of dialogue, get their candy presumably delivered around the world, and that's the end. You can find this thing on YouTube still. I don't think it ever got a DVD release that I can find, and from what I've gathered, it's hard to find even the VHS tapes anymore. The original distribution company seems to be Blair Entertainment, which looks these days to be a party booking service more than anything. They offer photo booths and DJs and stuff like that. The animation was done by Pannonia Film Studios, which Google tells me is the largest animation studio in Hungary, which is why I'm not going to attempt to name any of their other productions. And also why one of their producers was Robert Halmy, who apparently fought the Nazi occupation during the war. That's right, Lollipop Dragon is Antifa. If you're looking for something to kill some time, and isn't really serious, it's a Christmas movie. Give it a watch, I enjoy it. It's become sort of a guilty pleasure of mine, a tradition. I watch it at least once a year, just because, I have nostalgia. I imagine if I didn't have that nostalgia, though, I probably wouldn't give a crap. But your mileage may vary. I hope you enjoyed this little departure from what I would normally do. This is going up instead of an episode of Mario Maker, but I figured, hey, it's almost Christmas, maybe I should do something special. And this was weighing on the mind, considering, Christmas special. Our usual programming will resume on Saturday with a new episode of Dragon Force, presumably. I make no promises, I am not clairvoyant. Thank you for tuning in. I have once again been your host, Joe, and I will see you next time.